Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, the creative impetus. Chapter 1, the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata, text 30. Yavadavasayati suragirim manuparikraman bhagavan adityo vasudatam ardena Rakapati ardena vachagayati Tadahi bhagavadupasano vachitati Purushat bhagavastat anabhinandan Samajavena ratena jyotimayena Rajanim navidinam karishyamiti Saptakrit vastarani Anupalya kramat dvitiya eva pratangaha. Translation. While so excellently ruling the universe, King Priyavrata once became dissatisfied with the circumambulation of the most powerful sun god. Encircling Sumera hill on his chariot, the sun god illuminates all the surrounding planetary systems. However, when the sun is on the northern side of the hill, the south receives less light, and when the sun is in the south, the north receives less. King Priyavrata disliked this situation and therefore decided to make daylight in the part of the universe where there was night. He followed the orbit of the sun god on a brilliant chariot and thus fulfilled his desire. He could perform such wonderful activities because of the power he had achieved by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, similarly, there's a Bengali saying, if someone is so powerful, he can make night day and day night. So, in the purport, in the first paragraph,
What he did not like about it?
he just didn't like it.
Just didn't like it.
Well, in the first purport, there was like no specific reason. He just felt that there's not enough light.
Okay.
So, towards the end of the first paragraph, Prabhupada writes, when a devotee achieves what he wants to accomplish, it is not by his own mystic power, but by the grace of the Master of Mystic, Lord Krishna. By his grace, the devotee can accomplish wonderful things unimaginable even to the most powerful scientists. So, Priyavrata was doing that amazing thing that he could make a chariot so brilliant like the sun. Wasn't something to be astounded because he is under the grace of the Lord. So in the next paragraph, Prabhupada writes, from the description in this verse, it appears that the sun moves. According to modern astronomers, the sun is fixed in one place, surrounded by the solar system. But here we find that the sun is not stationary. It is rotating in a prescribed orbit. This fact is corroborated by Brahma Samhita. Yasyapnaya brahmati samvrita kala chakraha. The sun is rotating in its fixed orbit in accordance with the order of the Supreme Personality of God. Okay? So the sun also moves, and it's not evident from our point of view at present in the earthly planet. We can't see that. But in reality, the whole universe is moving also. So the sun is also moving. We can't see that. Then the next paragraph, Prabhupada says, although Maharaj Priyavrata devised a very powerful chariot, as brilliant as the sun, He had no desire to compete with the sun god. Why is that? For a Vaishnava never wants to supersede another Vaishnava. His purpose was to give abundant benefits in material existence. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that in the months of April and May, the rays of Maharaj Priyavrata's brilliant sun were as pleasing as the rays of the moon. And in the October and November, both morning and evenings, the sun provided more warmth than the sunshine. In short, Maharaj Priyavrata was extremely powerful and his actions extended his power in all directions. It's not something you can imitate or do. He's a especially empowered person. Text 31. Ye vahu hatat prata charana nemi krita parikataste sapta sindhava asan yata ye kritaha sapta bhuvo dvipaha. Translation: when Priyavrata drove his chariot behind the sun, the rims of his chariot wheels created impressions that later became 7 oceans, dividing the planetary system known as Bhumandala into 7 islands. So Priyavrata is a demigod, okay? It's not like you and I, demigod. So he could do all these things. So simply by using his amazing chariot, he was creating 7 islands in the Bhumandala. Alright, so Prabhupada writes, as Priyavrata drove his chariot behind the sun, he created 7 different types of oceans and planetary systems, which altogether known as Bhumandala or Bhuloka. In the Gayatri mantra, we chant Om Bhur Bhuvaha Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam. Above the Bhuloka planetary system is Bhuvarloka, and above that is Swargaloka, the heavenly planetary systems. All these planetary systems are controlled by Savita, the sun god. By chanting the Gayatri mantra just after writing early in the morning, one worships the sun god. Text 32. Jambu Plaksha Shalmani Kusha Kroncha Shaka Pushkara Samyas Desham Parimana Purvashmat Uttara Uttaro Yada Sankyam Vigunamanina Bahi Samantata Upakritaha. The names of the islands are Jambu, Plaksha, Shalmali, Kusha, Kroncha, Shaka, Pushkara. Each island is twice as large as the one preceding it, and each is surrounded by a liquid substance beyond which is the next island. So they are all like concentric circles. So each one is double their own, and each one is covered by different liquid. So there are 7 islands. You all should know these 7 islands. Text 33. Sharo Vikshu Rasoda Suroda Gritoda Shiroda Dadi Mandoda Shuddhoda Sapta Jalada Yaha Sapta Dvipa Varika Vivabhyantara Dvipa Samana Ekai Kashera Yatanu Bhuvam Sapta Swapi Bahi Dvipeshu Pritak Parita Upakalpita Seshu Jamvadishu Varihismati Bale Anavrattanatmajan Agni Gredma Jiva Yajna Babu Hiranyareto Grita Prishta Medatiti Viti Hotra Samyam Yata Sanke Naikai Kashmin Ikam Ivadi Patim Vidade. The 7 oceans respectively contain salt water, sugarcane juice, liquor, clarified butter, milk, emulsified yogurt, and sweet drinking water. All the islands are completely surrounded by these oceans, and each ocean is equal in breadth to the island it surrounds. Maharaj Priyavrata, the husband of Queen Varhismati, gave sovereignty over these islands to his respective sons, namely Agnidara, Idmajiva, Yagnabahu, Hiranyareta, Kritapristha, Medatiti, and Vitihotra. Thus they all became kings by the order of their father. So you should know the sons the islands and the type of oceans. Alright? So according to Veera Raghavacharya, the breadth of the first island is 100,000 yojanas. 1 yojana equals 8 miles, and therefore the breadth of the first island is calculated to be 800 miles. And then the water surrounding it must have the same breadth, but its length must be different. Like that. Text 34. Duhitaram chojasvati namo shane sabrayachat yasyamasi devayani nama kavyasuta. King Priyavrata then gave his daughter Urjaswati in marriage to Sukracharya, who begot in her a daughter named Devayani. Text 35. Naivam vida purushakara urukramasya.
Naivam vida purushakara urukramasya.
Pumsam tadangri rajasajita sadgunanam.
Pumsam tadangri rajasajita sadgunanam.
Chitram vidura vivata sakarit adadita.
Chitram vidura vigata sakridadadita.
Yannamadeyam aduna sajahati bandham.
Yannamadheya madhuram sajahati bandham.
My dear king, a devotee who has taken shelter of the dust from the lotus feet of the Lord can transcend the influence of the 6 material whips, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age and death. You should know this also. And he can conquer the mind and 5 senses. However, this is not very wonderful for a pure devotee of the Lord, because even a person beyond the jurisdiction of the 4 castes, in other words, an untouchable, is immediately relieved of bondage to material existence if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once.
Okay.
In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, my dear king, he said, don't be doubtful about the wonderful activities of Priyavrata. For a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything is possible because the Lord is also known as Urukrama. In the form of Vamadev, he did impossible acts, so one shouldn't be surprised that the devotee of Lord can do such wonderful things. And in the second last paragraph, Prabhupada writes, because of the material body, every living entity in material existence is always disturbed by sadguna, 6 whips: anger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, invalidity and death.
Is it whip or wave?
6 whips is it. Whips.
Here in the online version it says waves.
Waves.
Yeah,
I
like
think it's whips.
Yeah, whips.
Waves, whips. I don't know. What's that? Does it say in the book? Whips, right? So, I think people can't understand what whips means.
Therefore they must have changed it.
Waves. Okay, anyway, hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, invalidity and death. Furthermore, another sadguna are the mind and 5 sense organs. Not to speak of a sanctified devotee, even a chandala, an outcast who is untouchable, is immediately freed from material bondage if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once.
What does it mean, Prabhu?
He becomes purified.
When he utters pure name?
Yeah. Remember in the third canto, Aho Bata Swa Pachote Gajan Yadjiva Vartate Namatutyam. So anyone who has chanted is already qualified and has done all the sacrifices, gone to holy pilgrimages, etc. etc.
Austerities.
Yeah, they've done everything. The Aryans like that. Yeah. Yeah. So a devotee chants is like that. So even if a chandala he chants, he's merely purified at that level. See? Yeah, so that's what it means. So similarly, one who is a devotee, he is already qualified. And one who is not a devotee, even if he chants, if he chants purely, he becomes automatically in the same position. That's what Prabhupada says. Immediately freed from material bondage. So that means the holy name is so potent, right? Doesn't see who's chanting or not. It has effect. And you don't need to be his point is you don't need to be in a certain situation to chant.
Anyone can chant.
Or do the worship of Supreme Lord. So in this case, his argument is, which he says in the next line, sometimes caste brahmanas argue that unless one changes his body, he cannot be accepted as a brahmana. For since the present body is obtained as a result of past actions, one who has in the past acted as a brahmana takes birth in a brahmana family. Therefore they contend, without such a brahminical body, one cannot be accepted as a brahmana. Herein it is said, however, that even Vidura Vigata, a Chandala, a fifth class untouchable, is freed if he utters the holy name even once.
What are the other 4 classes?
The rest.
Oh,
Brahmana,
you mean the Brahmana.
Kshatriya.
Yeah. Being freed means that he immediately changes his body. Did you see that? Prabhupada says being freed means that he immediately changes his body. So that's the interesting thing. So in the next paragraph, Prabhupada continues, although one cannot see how his body has changed, we must accept on the grounds of the authoritative statements of the Shastras that he changes his body. This is to be understood without arguments. So whoever chants, automatically they are changing. What is that change? So Prabhupada explains in the bottom of that paragraph. In the subtle body, the mind is predominant. And therefore, if one's mind is always absorbed in remembering the activities or the lotus feet of the Lord, it is to be understood to have already changed his present body and become purified. So therefore, when you chant, your mind is changing. Therefore, it is irrefutable that a Chandala or any fallen or low-born person who can become a Brahmana simply by the method of bona fide initiation.
So, if a Chandala is becoming a Brahmana by virtue of chanting, then the Pancharatrika Vidhi is just a superimposition of that?
That is the Pancharatrika Vidhi. Once he is initiated, he can chant.
But he's chanting even before initiation.
Yeah, there may be some
Practice.
purification, but then once he is initiated, the potency is there.
Manifest.
Like the Dvija initiation.
Yes. Verse 36. Sa evam aprimita bala parakrama yadatu deva rishi charananu patita guna visarga samsarge nirvritam ivamanam manyamana atma nirveda idamaha. While enjoying his material opulences with full strength and influence, Maharaj Priyavrata once began to consider that although he had fully surrendered to the great saint Narada and was actually on the path of Krishna consciousness, he had somehow become again entangled in material activities. Thus his mind now became restless and began to speak in a spirit of renunciation. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes the verse from the first canto. One who has forsaken his material occupations and lives in the devotion service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. Now we know that Priyavrata was sanctioned to do that. Still, Prabhupada quotes this verse because even though we may be pure, sometimes we can also get covered by the material energy because it's very powerful. Unless you are always fully taking charge of your devotional practices. He got into a lot of other activities. So therefore, and for our own benefit also, that if we do this process, we will always be protected. In the same way, Priyavrata Maharaj was involved in material practices, family life and ruling and so on. You can also see that at a certain point his mind suddenly says, what are you doing? Like that. Which means the Lord will instigate in your heart and say, it's time to get out, time to go, like that. if one somehow or other comes to the shelter of a great Vaishnava, takes to Krishna consciousness because of sentiment or realization, but in course of time falls down because of immature understanding, he is not actually fallen. For his having engaged in Krishna consciousness is a permanent asset. If one falls down, therefore, his progress might be checked for a certain time. But it will again become manifest at an opportune moment. That is the thing. So it's not like you are abandoned or the Lord doesn't take care of it. He does, but He waits for the right opportunity. So similarly, in the case of Priyavrata, no doubt we know he's been granted the permission. Still, even then, he feels that way, that he was fallen. I guess when we enjoy material energy, we must understand that we are fallen. That's how he is feeling. And then continuing, Prabhupada quotes again Bhagavad Gita, Suchinan Srimate Yoga Prasta Vijayate. Again, what is that got to do with Priyavrata? It's actually to show us that we can even not complete in one lifetime and take birth in another family in another lifetime, and again the Lord from within the heart will awaken our Krishna consciousness, because it is never lost. Okay, so that is the beauty of spiritual life of Krishna consciousness. So then Prabhupada says in that next paragraph, this actually happened in the life of Priyavrata. And what does it? That he was given a chance to take birth in a noble family of a pure Brahmana or in a rich family to revive his Krishna consciousness. So he says this actually happened in the life of Priyavrata. He is a most glorious example of this truth. In due course of time, he no longer wanted to enjoy his material opulences and his wife, kingdom and sons. Instead, he wanted to renounce them all. Therefore, after having described the material opulences of Maharaj Priyavrata, Shukadev Goswami in this verse describes his tendency for renunciation. And then in the next paragraph, Prabhupada quotes Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Dandava pranamas dan anupatiktaha. By immediately offering obeisances, Dandavat, onto the spiritual master, and by strictly following his directions, the student becomes advanced. Maharaj Priyavrata was doing all these things regularly. As long as one is in the material world, he has to be under the influence of the modes of material nature, guna, visarga. It is not that Maharaj Priyavrata was freed from material influence because he possessed all material opulences. Everyone is under the three modes of material nature in this material world. It's a matter of how Krishna conscious you are. Text 37. Aho asadvanustitam yad avini vishetoham indriyar avidyarachita vishama vishayandra upe tadvalam valam musya vanikaya vinodam mamikirti nardhayam chakara. King thus began criticizing himself. Alas, how condemned I have become because of my sense gratification. I have now fallen into material enjoyment, which is exactly like a covered well. I have had enough. I am not going to enjoy anymore. Just see how I have become like a dancing monkey in the hands of my wife. Because of this, I am condemned. So he's just condemning himself, not that his wife was doing bad things or whatever. He just feels that I am doing everything material in his life. And I am very happy in my grihastashram. So how condemned is the advancement of material knowledge can be understood from the behavior of Maharaj Priyavrata. Basically, Prabhupada's point is he could do so many wonderful activities, right? So even like his chariot was like as good as the sun. The material scientists cannot understand how to even they have all the ingredients, but they cannot create a sun themselves. So he was amazing in that case. But because he was dealing in sense gratification, ruling his kingdom and dancing to the indications of his wife, he personally condemned himself. And another couple of lines down, Prabhupada says, modern so-called scientists and other materialists are very satisfied when they can construct great bridges, roads and machines. But such activities are nothing comparable to those of Maharaj Priyavrata. If Maharaj Priyavrata could condemn himself in spite of his wonderful activities, how condemned we are in our so-called advancement of material civilization. We can conclude that such advancement has nothing to do with the problems of the living entity entangled within this material world. And then later on he says, from a spiritual point of view, a great kingdom, beautiful wife and wonderful material activities are all impediments to spiritual advancement. Okay. And basically, Salpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato. So Prabhupada also tells us that it's always good to be doing devotional service because it will help at the most dangerous time in our life, the point of death, so to speak.
So Maharaj Priyavrata was a devotee already and he was doing Yukta Vairagya, but looks like Prabhupada is condemning that also.
It's not that Prabhupada is condemning. Priyavrata himself is condemning.
In the purport he says these are all impediments, even though Priyavrata was a
He's saying
devotee
that such activities are impediments for people like us. What to speak of Priyavrata, he was already enamored by all these things, even though he's a pure devotee. So sometimes it happens that a person like him was allowed to enjoy, he's given the sanction by the Lord, and so the Lord can cover the devotee, so he's enjoying. But at a certain point in time, Priyavrata realized, I'm enjoying too much. So he's condemning himself.
But somebody who has taken the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord.
But he's given the permission. You weren't here yesterday. You missed. He's been given the blessing to enjoy. And then he's enjoying, and now after many years he's realizing, why am I doing this? I don't need to. So you can enjoy as long as you want. That was the Lord's direction.
Okay.
Yeah. So that, but he, out of his own devotion, is awakened in his heart. Why am I doing this? What is this enjoyment for? It's useless like that. So then he sees all these things are just impediments because you can get entangled in this. Even though he's a pure devotee, he sees like a normal person, one who entangles too much cannot come out because it's so enamored. So that's what he's saying, and Prabhupada is emphasizing the fact for our benefit. Of course, Priyavrata can walk out of it any time. That's just it. Paradevata prasadharigatārma prachyavamashvinanu pravritevya putriyya imam yatādāyam vibhajya bhukta bhogam chamayasindhim mritakam vibhasāmaha vibhutim apahāya swayam nihisha nirveyo hridhita harivihāranubhavo bhagavato naradasya paravimunakevanusāsana.
Maybe you covered this yesterday, but why is this meter like the speakers?
I don't know any other meter.
No, what I meant was, why did the speaker 5,000 years ago?
I think he must be tired chanting one way, so let's change.
No, but everything has to have some logic, right?
I don't know, that's what I'm saying. I'm speculating he was tired, so he changed the meter. But we can't follow.
Yeah, this is more like the meter that we follow for Vedic mantras.
It's easier for me to follow that meter. Otherwise, how are you going to
No, this is good. The meter is good. I'm saying that this is more suited for the yajnas.
Yeah. So that's why I'm doing it. It's reading about them is also a yajna for us. Translation. By the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maharaja Priyavrata reawakened to his senses. He divided all his earthly possessions among his obedient sons. He gave up everything, including his wife, with whom he had enjoyed so much sense gratification, and his great and opulent kingdom, and he completely renounced all attachment. His heart, having been cleansed, became a place of pastimes for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus he was able to return to the path of Krishna consciousness, spiritual life, and resume the position he had attained by the grace of the great saint Narada. No, even Purusha Sukta is in the same meter. So it's not yajna for Purusha Sukta, it's a glorification of the Supreme Lord, the praise. For what? So Prabhupada quotes the whole idea of how he, when he understood his position, he immediately renounced everything and by meditating on the Lord and glorifying the Lord and thinking about the Lord, he purified his heart. So then Prabhupada quotes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshastra, Chaito Darpanam Arjunam Mahadavami Nirvatanam. As soon as one's heart is cleansed, the blazing fire of material existence is immediately extinguished. Our hearts are meant for the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means we have to be constantly thinking of Krishna. So otherwise, we have to learn how to place the Supreme Personality of Godhead in our hearts. And if you can do that, you can easily become qualified to renounce material attachment. Okay? So the whole idea is, if we want to be detached from matter, we have to put more spirit and become attached to Krishna. So later on, in the end of that paragraph, Prabhupada says, one has to fix the lotus feet of the Lord within his heart. Then he gets the strength to be freed from material entanglement. So these are all connected. You can see a lot of things Prabhupada is telling us, how to focus, how to meditate and so on. So it's important for us, if we really want to make the advancement, to somehow or other cultivate our lifestyle in such a way that we will always think of Krishna or meditate on Krishna. So in the last paragraph, Prabhupada says, for one who desires to advance in spiritual life, attainment to material opulence and attachment to a beautiful wife are two great impediments. Right? Bhogaishwarya Prashasana. So this is what it is. Material opulence is Aishwarya, and to enjoy means to have a great beautiful wife. Such attachments are condemned even more than suicide, because you have no chance to spiritual life. Therefore anyone desiring to cross beyond material essence must, by the grace of Krishna, be freed from attachment to women and money, or men and money, whatever. Text 39. This one, the meter is not really, but anyway, we'll just check. Tasya hava ete shlokaha Priyavrata kritam karma Kono kurya vineshwaram Yoni minimnar akaroch Chayam gnan saptavaridin. So this is, he's speaking all in prose predominantly. Yeah. Translation. There are many famous verses regarding Maharaj Priyavrata's activities. No one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead could do what Maharaj Priyavrata has done. Maharaj Priyavrata dissipated the darkness of night, and with the rims of his great chariot he excavated 7 oceans. He created 7 islands like that. Alright, so next text 40. Bhusamstanam kritam yena Saridgiri vanadibihi Srimacha bhuta nirvrityai Vipe vibhagashaha. To stop the quarreling among different peoples, Maharaj Priyavrata marked boundaries at rivers and at the edges of mountains and forests, so that no one would trespass upon another's property. So his example is still being carried out. Prabhupada says, as indicated here, different classes of men are destined to live in different areas, and therefore the boundaries of various tracts of land which are described here as islands should be defined by different rivers, forests and hills. And then later on, like 4 lines down, or 4 sentences. Prabhupada says one cannot be promoted to civilized life unless one comes to Krishna consciousness, for by nature one is destined to live in a particular situation according to one's karma and association with the modes of nature. So you can see so many people living in different cities, countries, and taking birth for different reasons, based on one's karma and one's association with the modes. So, and then in the last 2 sentences, Prabhupada says, Maharaja Priyavrata divide the service of the globe into different islands so that each class of man would live peaceful and not clash with the others. The modern idea of nationhood has gradually developed in the divisions made by Maharaj Priyavrata.
But here, Maharaj Priyavrata is talking about Bhu Mandala, he is not talking about Bhu Gol.
Bhu what?
So Bhu Mandala is different than the Bhu Gol, right? I mean, it's not the Earth globe.
Bhu
is a globe.
Mandala plane. he's
Oh, you're
talking
talking about the planet and the thing. No, he created those planetary system according to...
Yeah, here we talk about modern idea of nationhood
Yeah.
developed by division. So we are not talking about the earthly divisions, we are talking about the plate, the Bhu Mandala plate.
Yeah, maybe, or even he went to his planet and did it also, I don't know. But it appears he was dividing the rivers and so on, that's what Prabhupada
So
says.
in Dhanavara Goswami's book, who did research on Prabhupada's books, he says there is a lot of controversy around the circular form and the plate form.
Yeah.
And that's not resolved yet.
Well, you can't, because as I said, the vision of demigods is different. The vision of us who live here is different. We see it differently. The demigods see things differently. They can see more, we can see less, So there are many circumstantial problems already. And then not only that, we are more earth-centric in whatever we see. And then there's solar-centric, geocentric, So different ways of looking at the planetary system. And the way Prabhupada sees as someone
Chandelier.
yeah. So it all makes sense, but we have to know how to see from even our own. We can only see what we see. That's it. And what we are using some glass, electronic, whatever they call it, telescope. Still, it's a big glass. Through that glass, we are magnifying and saying this is how it looks. But how we know what we are seeing? We don't know. We really don't know. There are some things, and they also say glass can only function up to a certain level. Anything beyond a certain distance, the glass will reproduce in a wrong way. And that's one thing. Then light also travels in a very strange way. So there are many distortions that are created by the very fact that this is nature. Man cannot understand nature. If he understands it, then he'll become a problem. Like you can see, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha and all. They try to manipulate nature to their own position of enjoyment, but eventually the Lord came and said, this doesn't work out. Easily, he comes in and steps on a fly or insect and says, you get out from here. So so Dhanavara Goswami's book is well researched and so on, but he also has to depend on research made from different sampradayas also. And all those people have different viewpoints and so on. So you can only understand certain things according to the capacity of our purification, position and so on. Anyway, for me, I'm not worried about how the systems are. First let me get purified. Then if the Lord thinks I should know, then I will know. But of course, for a scientist devotees, they can do the research. Prabhupada said that also. So he encouraged those devotees to present this to the scientists. And he gave the understanding of how the whole thing is like a chariot. The sun can move on the different levels like that. And then from everything is like chandelier, the Bhu Mandala. And not only this Bhu Mandala, Swargaloka,
Also different.
Everything. So he gave them the vision, and then after researching through different Puranas and studying different authors, they come to what your God brothers and all came up with the idea. So far, that's the most closest to what Prabhupada has said. And it's not easy to understand these things. But maybe even not in our lifetime, maybe in the next few generations, the devotees will be more advanced than we are, and they can see things clearly. Just like the astrological understanding by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, people are now only understanding how he wrote those things. Yeah.
Surya Siddhanta.
Exactly. It's not easy to comprehend. You have to have a certain intelligence and purification. So anyway, text 41.
And also, Prabhuji, is it like God creates all these things so that people who wanted to get sidetracked can easily get sidetracked and not really focus on the main important
that's what I've mentioned many times. There are sections in the scripture also for people to find faults, and then they are happy their fault is there, so they don't have to become devotees. Yeah. So it's there. Even like Prabhupada writes about women and men and black people and so on. So it's for people who are so identifying with those things and not really interested in Krishna consciousness. They may be very intelligent, but when they see that, they cannot take it. But Bahunam Janmanam Jnanam. So we should understand, not everyone's going to understand or accept what Prabhupada has written or Krishna has written. Text 41. Bhaumam divyam manusam cha
Bhaumam divyam manusam cha
Mahitvam karma yogajam
Mahitvam karma yogajam
Chakre nirayo pamyam
Chakre nirayo pamyam
Purushanu janapriya
Purushanu janapriyaha.
As a great follower and devotee of the sage Narada, Maharaja Priyavrata considered hellish the opulences he had achieved by dint of fruitive activities and mystic power, whether in the lower or higher heavenly planetary systems or in human society. But in the purport at the end he writes, one must have a superior taste. He says, Param Drishya Nivartite, one has to have that in spiritual life. Then he can give up material opulence. So it's applicable for all of us. We have to, remember when I said early on, you have to somehow develop higher tastes here. Maharaj Priyavrata had already tasted spiritual bliss, and therefore he had no interest in any of the material achievements available in the lower, higher or middle planetary systems. So Patala Loka is also a heavenly system in the lower planetary system. It's very opulent. So people sometimes like to go there and enjoy also. Yeah. So different categories of it. That's in the Bhakti Purpose, the 5th canto, 1st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrata.
But the taste is given by the Lord, right? According to our sincerity.
Yeah. Then he reveals slowly, and then you get the faith. It comes from faith, Shraddha. How much you believe in the process and seriously, with determination, you want. Then he gives the juice. So we have to show the determination. Otherwise, the process works. It's like you try to squeeze the lemon or what. Sometimes you cannot squeeze. You need to cut it and then take the juice out. So it's like that. But if you are very sincere, then the lemon suddenly becomes very soft, and then you can, like mango also, right? You squeeze, and then you can suck it. But if you don't squeeze properly, what can you suck? So Krishna will give us the taste, seeing our sincerity. Just like Narada Muni, he got the taste from the Bhakti Vedantas. Then he chanted and meditated a lot, and then the Lord revealed himself to increase his taste. But then he disappeared, right? He said, "You are not ready yet."
So Prabhuji, these planetary systems, the lower planetary systems, we say that the people who are sinful will go down to the lower planetary system. But
Generally, there's two, lower planetary system also goes 7 layers after the Bhumandala, right? And then there are, the Atala, Vitala, Sutala, and all the planets are lower planetary system. They have less opulence and stuff. But in Patala Loka, it's a heavenly planet in the lower planetary system, like that.
is it considered like within our earthly planet, like America, although
It's
there is
always
lot
the
of
same,
sinful
it's always-
activities happening, its
it's
opponents
always
is
like
working.
that.
Is it like that?
It's always like that.
Mm.
And I've also heard that sometimes you say a lower planetary system, but it doesn't mean it's in the lower like that. It's in a dimension. But it could be in the same place as the heavenly planetary system, position-wise. I've also heard like that. I don't know how, but it's dimensionally, maybe in the same location. So that's why sometimes you see the demons come and then they attack and stuff like that. For others say it's just a gateway they go through.
Or is it that they are, since everything is moving?
It's like, for example, you can be in the same apartment, but some apartment is more properly furnished, another one is not furnished at all. So it's in the same building. So similarly, in the same region, you can have a heavenly planet, and that's one thing I've heard. Yeah, like that. So, but in terms of category, yeah, they are lower. Maybe living conditions are not as opulent. For example, Sargaloka, how everybody has amazing health and body like that. Here we suffer, right? So similarly, in lower planet, they have more disease and distress, those kind of things. People suffer more. Now, below all this planetary system is Naraka Lokas. Those are hellish planets where you go to be punished, which you will read in the later on in this, towards the end of the fifth canto.
Kumbhaka.
So many things.
Kumbhipaka.
Kumbhipaka.
He's already checking it out. The activities are Maharaj Agnidra, the son of Deva. Sri Shuka Vacha.
Sri Shuka Vacha.
एवं विदरि सम्प्रावृते तदनुशासने वर्तमान आग्निग्रो जम्बुद्वीपोकशः प्रजा औरसवद्धर्मविक्षमाणः वर्यगोपाय. Translation: Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued after his father Maharaj Devrata departed to follow the path of spiritual life. By undergoing austerities, King Agnidra completely obeyed his order. Strictly observing the principles of religion, he gave full protection to inhabitants of Jambudvipa as if they were his own begotten sons. So his dharma dvekshamanaha, according to religious principles. So that's what kings are supposed to do. We see that our authorities, politicians, they are not interested. In the second paragraph, Prabhupada says, in the age of Kali, they simply collect taxes. They do not care whether religious principles are observed. The president, chief of executors, all of that. And then, in fact, they introduce sinful activities. All kinds of nonsense. These sinful activities are now very prominently manifested in India. I was talking to one devotee this morning. So then long distance phone call. So then he was saying how recently in India, in South India, one big actor openly, made a big announcement and said all Indians should eat beef. It's good for them. He says, who said there's God? So these are going on already. So there are many groups of Indian ladies forming to say they want equality. They should wear whatever they like. They should be able to go and drink and do whatever they want. So this is going on in India. I mean, what you're saying is a symptom of a problem that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago. Right? Problems that started, but they were all underlying. And then now, because of the wealth that India is getting, through different occupational process they're doing all over the world, and they've become a very powerful nation in that way, in terms of economy. These people are now voicing, saying we need equality and so on. So the situation is getting bad in India. So this is Prabhupada already know what was happening. And you can pretty much say maybe that's another reason why he came to the West also. Of course, when they asked Prabhupada, he said all his god brothers went to England and failed. So he decided to go to America and fail. If he want to fail, he wanted to fail in a new place. That's funny what he said. So the end of the paragraph, like 6-7 lines above, Prabhupada says, rogues and thieves plunder without regard for law. But in this age of Kali, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, the lawmakers themselves plunder the citizens. Right? You can see that. The next prediction to be fulfilled, which is already coming to pass, is that because of the sinful activities of the citizens and the government, rain will become increasingly scarce. Right? It's happening already. Gradually there will be complete drought and no production of food grains, which is also true. All the temperatures are going up. People will be reduced to eating flesh and seeds, and many good spiritually inclined people will have to forsake their homes because they will be too harassed by drought, taxation and famine. The Krishna consciousness movement is the only hope to save the world from such devastation. It is the most scientific and authorized movement for the actual welfare of the whole human society. The Prabhupada can see, his ability to see what's going to happen. So that's why he says it's the next prediction to be fulfilled. And we are seeing it already, how much rain doesn't fall in all the agricultural states.
Yeah,
California doesn't have at all, it's gone already, almost gone.
Almost.
And then Florida is going to face problems soon.
I was driving in California, a lot of trees are all charred, black color.
Yes.
They're all like
Yeah, the
fires. First no rain, then the fires take over.
Exactly. It's sad, but that's how it is. And so we can see and understand this. And people who say there's no God, why is God letting us suffer? They don't want to accept that they are creating the problem. I mean, it's like the president is in charge of the country and some thief comes and steals. So you'll blame the president for the thief stealing your home, comes in. In the old age, yes, because they're supposed to make sure there's no such thieves. But now they don't care such things. You cannot keep blaming other people for your lack of security. You don't lock your homes and so many other things. So similarly, if you commit some sinful activities, there's going to be some reaction. You cannot say, how do I know what is sin? Right? So similarly, if you say there's no God, then I can go kill people, right? Then I say, why? This is my law, I'm happy, killing me. Then you cannot say, why this is wrong. Who has the right to say why it's wrong? Right? Just because 10 people say it's wrong, it becomes a law. So our laws are not based on how people feel emotionally. The laws are coming from scriptures. And that's why you cannot kill people or do unnecessary nonsense things. It's all clearly done. These rascals, these politicians in India, they're doing nonsense, trying to totally destroy the country. And once it breaks down, they can divide all the land for themselves like petty chieftains and then control the resources. That's what's going to happen.
Actually, it's already happening.
It happens in Andhra already.
Andhra and Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
So Jayalalitha, people will first identify a piece of land. Then they will come and they'll say, Amma wants to buy this land. They'll give you a very good rate. You have to sell this land. And then they'll give some price. If like the price is say $100,000, they'll offer $10,000.
Yeah, okay.
Amma is very generous. She's giving this.
10,000.
If you don't, somebody will occupy your land.
Right.
So better you sell.
All dacoits.
All that, and it's happening. She's the chief minister, and then under that she's looting.
In Andhra
them.
it is happening.
Andhra also
It
it's
used to
happening.
happen when
Yeah, it's looting
Jagan
like
Reddy was
anything.
there.
Yeah, this is that's what's happening in India now. Because they don't follow the culture. This is what they have to follow. Next two. Sacha kadachi pitri loka kamaha suravara manibhagri sacha dronyam bhagavantam vishwasrijam pati mahrita vichayo bhagana atmanikavrina tapasvi aradhyam bhava. Desiring to get a perfect son and become an inhabitant of Pitriloka, Maharaj Agnidra once worshipped Lord Brahma, the master of those in charge of material creation. He went to a valley of Mandara hill, where the damsels of the heavenly planets come down to stroll. There he collected garden flowers and other necessary paraphernalia, and then engaged in the severe austerities and worship. So he wanted to go to Pitriloka, right? So not like his father, he was more interested in karmakanda activities. So therefore, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that he wanted someone to live in Pitriloka for a long time. So he wanted to have a good sons who will do pinda, so he can stay there. Otherwise, he has to come back. So therefore, that was the reason he was doing that. So then, some people will say, right, like I was mentioning, why he's a son of such a great person? Why is he so much into this karma kanda and Pitriloka? So in the second paragraph, in the middle, Prabhupada answers, in answer to this, Goswami Giridhari, one of the Bhagavatam commentators, remarks that Agnidra was born when Maharaj Priyavrata was infatuated by lusty desires. This may be accepted as a fact because sons are begotten with different mentalities according to the time of their conception. According to the Vedic system, therefore, before a child is conceived, the Garbhadana Samskara is performed. This ceremony molds the mentality of the father in such a way that when he plants his seed in the womb of his wife, he will beget a child whose mind will be completely saturated with a devotional attitude. Okay. So it's interesting still, one can still say, how? He is such a pure devotee. But it can happen. Okay. Just like the father of King Vena. Yeah, same thing. Due to his wife's side, there was some problem also, even though he was a great personality.
So is this Garbhadana Samskara done once, or is it like
every time you want to conceive a child?
on the same day, or is it like the same week or same month?
I
or
do
something?
not know. You have to check with
Same day.
Same day,
Chant
yeah?
50 rounds.
Once a month.
50 or 64?
50 rounds.
50 rounds.
64 rounds.
50 rounds.
50, Prabhupada says so.
Fine.
If we don't do Garbhadana Samskar, Prabhupada mentions that all the child taking birth will be in the category of Shudras. Okay? Like that. Almost all of us will be Shudras. Then Prabhupada says, of course, although Maharaj Agnidra had a desire to be transferred to Pitriloka, this does not mean that his mentality was that of a Shudra. He was a Kshatriya. He is also a devotee, but he has an attachment for Pitriloka. Okay? And then the next paragraph, second sentence, Prabhupada says, to have a good son, Maharaj Agnidra wanted a wife from a family of demigods. Therefore he went to Mandara Hill, where the women of the demigods generally come to worship Lord Brahma. It's like many devotees from India, they come here to look for apsaras as their wife. It's true. Not only from India, many places. You find it funny, but it's true. Sri Aishwarya Prajep Sabaha. Prabhupada defines what that is. Those who desire beautiful wives, substantial wealth and many sons worship the demigods. But an intelligent devotee, instead of being entangled by the happiness of this material world in the form of a beautiful wife, material opulence and children, desires to be immediately transferred back home, back to God. That's the difference between devotee and a non-devotee. Okay? He worships Vishnu, whereas others will worship demigods or things like that. Text 3. Tat upalabhya bhagavan adipurushaha sadasi gayantim purvachittim navaksharasham aviyapayam asa. Understanding King Agnidra's desire, the first and most powerful creative being of this universe, Lord Brahma selected the best of the dancing girls in his assembly, whose name was Purva Chitti, and sent her to the king. So anyway, he understood his desire, and Lord, because he was worshipping Brahma, so therefore he got the blessings of Lord Brahma. And that's another reason why he